Oh. Well. Boy, this thing's gonna be cool.
False.
I don't know. I think we have issues. I don't know yet. We'll figure it out. So we have some issues. I noticed something amiss with this front end. What I think it is, the bearing.
False alarm.
We have successfully connected the top to the bottom of this triple clamp. Now what we need to do, get this all hooked back up, get this thing on the ground, get it running, get it riding, love it forever.
It's a ridiculous question.
The front suspension is on the bike. This is finally in a place where I can be happy with how it feels and handles and moves, and we can get back to just cosmetics and on the road.
False.
Unfortunately, we have issues.
Dude, I almost dumped your bike in the shop.
From what we can tell, from what the mechanics have kind of diagnosed just by what is happening with this motorcycle, they suspect that these forks are bent. New forks. Now that this is all squared away, looking good.
That you are so not. Oh, God. False.
Oh, no. This front end has given me nothing but grief, but we are well on our way to getting this thing fixed. And I say that knowing that you literally just watched me say that over and over again, but there's only two pieces of this motorcycle that can possibly be the issue. We've narrowed it down to the clamps. So the top and the bottom clamps are the only thing on this motorcycle that we have not replaced. They are still the original parts that had been quote unquote fixed when the forks had gone on to be fixed as well, but it seems that they are most likely the issue because with brand new forks, we're still seeing the same things happen. So we are going to be replacing either one or both the top and the bottom clamps, and we will see if that, please Lord, fixes our issue. We are finally back working on this Diavel V4, and we have at least one new part that's come in, and that is right here, the lower triple clamp, which is going to replace this here. And the issue is, I don't know if this is going to fix the problem. I ordered both the lower and the top clamp from Ducati. The lower came, the top did not come, and they have to come from Italy. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace this lower clamp and pray to all things holy that this is going to fix the problem. If it doesn't fix the problem, then we are going to be waiting a couple more weeks to order the top clamp. And so right now, what we need to do is remove all of this front suspension again, take out this lower clamp, get the race and the dust guard and everything installed on this, and then reinstall and see if that fixes the problem. So it's a quick teardown, hopefully, and then a quick install to see what our next steps are gonna be. Both forks are out, the easy part is done. Now we actually have to remove the bottom clamp here, which means we have to go through the top, loosen the nut on the top here, which is gonna be interesting to get to. and then drop that out and see what our damage is, see how we can go from there. So I think the easiest way to do this is going to be to unbolt the TFT display and go in from the top and be able to loosen the nut from there. I believe that's gonna be the easiest way. That's what I'm gonna try first, and we'll go from there. By this point, taking the front end apart is second nature. It's not fun, but it's gotten easier. So that should give me plenty of access. So if you see down there, that's the steering head nut, and that's what I need to get to. Yeah, that should be fine. There we go. There we are. All right, so before I continue, don't fall. No, you know what? It's gonna fall. It's my luck, it's gonna fall. Before I do anything else, these brake lines are now hanging off of this lower part. This is gonna all come down, so these brake lines need to be hung up somewhere else. There we go. Now we can go ahead and fully loosen this sucker. Come on. There it is. That can stay. And the lower triple clamps are out. Let's transfer everything over to the new one and go from there. Now what I mean by transfer things over to the new one, there's a couple things that need to transfer. Actually, there's a number of things. One, most easiest is going to be these stop bolts, which we had issues with before, but they legitimately just screw in and screw out. They have these nuts on the end that lock them in place, so we can get those off really easy. We have this guard here at the bottom, which is just two bolts at the bottom here. Those can come off as well. And then harder than that, the bearing is good. I know that's fine. That just slides out. It's the race and the dust guard that I would like to try to remove and save the dust guard at the very least. That's going to be trickier, but we are going to try our best to get it done. So I went ahead and removed as much of the grease from the stem as I could. I got to remove this bearing here, which should be easy, comes right off. I'm going to set that somewhere where it's not going to get uber messy. I'll use one of these old sanding blocks that I have, and I can remove these pieces over here. And again, those are the easiest parts of the stem, and now we have to move on to the actual race and the dust seal, which I'm not super looking forward to. It's going to be really finicky getting those off, but I think we can do it if we just give it a little patience, a little finessing, a little love making. We'll get it done. As I'm looking at this and thinking through how to do it, my initial thought was to just use a flathead screwdriver and try to pry the race out. But that's going to damage the dust seal, and the dust seal is the only thing that I really want to keep. So my course of action now, I believe, is to do what I did to get the inner race out of the stem of the frame of the bike, which is to use a Dremel tool and cut this race out, save the dust seal. I don't need to save the race because I have a brand new one right here, and that will actually give me a race that I can use to help install this one. So that actually works out really well. So that's what we're gonna do, a little grinding. Let's get to it. The seal, 1, 2, 3. And just like that, we are able to remove the dust seal, keep that intact, keep it nice and clean. There's a bottom washer that goes underneath this dust seal, and then you have the race. Now the race is broken and chipped here, and that's how we were able to get it out. But what I'm actually going to be able to do is use this race to install this new race here. So this is going to allow me to set the new race in. I'll probably flip this, put it upside down so it's a perfect fit. And then from there, be able to hammer it in, get it nice and seated into the new stem, which is next. Weirdly for me, putting these pieces back together was one of the more nerve-wracking parts of this. I just didn't want to forget anything. I'm going to use the old one. And I have this, which I'm going to use as a kind of a hammer. That worked like a charm. The new race is seated perfectly, which is fantastic. Now all we need to do is install all those parts that we took off of the old one onto this new stem, and then install it and try and see if that fixed the problem. I don't have high hopes that this alone is gonna fix the problem. I'm probably gonna have to replace the upper clamp, but fingers crossed this is what does the trick, and we'll be golden from there. We'll see. Now that we have the lower clamp and stem all assembled, all we have to do now is add the bearing, add a little bit of grease, and reinstall it, and then go ahead and check to see if this is the fix to all of our issues, or if we're ordering one more part. Fingers are crossed. Let's get back to reassembling. Trials and trials have been my path. That went in really smooth. This bottom clamp is now all the way attached in there. The nut, the steering clamp nut at the top is not fully torqued down, but this is all ready to accept the brand new forks. Let's go ahead and install those now and see how we're looking. We'll go from there. So at this point now, we are ready to marry the wheel to the forks. The speed sensor is on, which you've seen me do too many times for me to actually record that again. Speed sensor's on, forks are semi-tightened down, and now we can go ahead and wheel the wheel around, put it on, and see if this has worked. I've said that enough now, let's just get it done. Right? Right. Just keep going. Don't give up, it's not too late. And they haven't said yeah. And the preacher says, now, per the instructions on the manual, you actually we don't tighten these down first. We torque this and then these. I'll throw the instructions up on the screen here so you know that I'm not lying, but that's what you're supposed to do. So I'm gonna tighten this, not torque it, but tighten this down and see how it goes. First, we can't get these back on real quick. So we have the wheel installed. We have the axle and everything back together. Everything is tight, so everything's tight here. What I would like now is play with it a little bit more, see if there's any adjustability. I know that the bottom clamps were part, if not mostly, the issue. There is a little bit of tweaking, so I will most likely be ordering that upper clamp. But I'm very happy that we figured that out, and it was a fairly easy removal and install, so we'll count it as a win. But that might be it for today. It is the next day, and I really am hoping that this front end is okay. It seems to be going well. It seems to be going back together much better than before. And so what I need to do now is I need to drop this down and see how these forks are doing. Let's try that now. That is looking 1,000 times better. I'm getting really excited. Fingers are still super crossed. I went ahead and got on top of the bike and did the whole situation where you are supposed to hold the front brake and shove down the bike a couple times to align the bike, which you did, which I filmed previously, and I'll show that here. And that has done wonders for the alignment on this. And let me show you, because this is really exciting, and we may be in the clear. We may not need the top clamps at all. Let's check it out. So you can see how perfectly centered that front disc is in the caliper, and on this side as well, almost perfectly centered. So what that means for us is I think we're golden. I think that now we can go ahead and torque everything down and get this bike back on the road. We will have to bring it back to Ducati, have them give the final green light, but the front forks are working and working really, really nicely, super smooth. So I'm excited, and I'm excited to get this bike put back together and back on the road. First things first, let's get the mud guard back on. Let's clamp all the lines in and get this wheel starting to look like a front end again. First thing that we want to torque down are the bolts on these clamps here. I've done these enough to know that these are 22 Newton meters of torque that would need to be torqued down to. But just to make sure that everybody knows that I'm not lying, this is a print off of the actual Diavel V4 specific repair manual. And it says right here, the bottom yoke terminal, you can see that here, bottom yoke terminal tightening and steering head clamp tightening, 22 Newton meters of torque as well. So that's what we're gonna do. Next on the list, we have the bolts here, the fork bolts that, what are they called? The axle lug tightening bolts. These are 10 Newton meters each, and you want to go about tightening these in a specific way because you tighten one and it will loosen the other, and so you tighten and then move back to the one you just tightened to tighten it down again because it will essentially loosen. So you kind of go back and forth. You go 1, 2, 1. So you just want to make sure that you tighten them down that specific way and get it all squared away. And then you have the axle nut that you will tighten down as well. So we'll get all that squared away so the wheel doesn't fly off while we're driving. Next, we have to go back under here and tighten that steering bearing nut that is underneath this TFT. That's gonna be 35 Newton meters of torque. So I gotta pull this back off again, get my specialized bearing nut top bolt thingy in there, torque it down, and then I'm gonna go underneath this and torque down the bolt that's under this that tightens it all down. I don't remember the name of it right now off the top of my head, but it's there, and that needs to be torqued down as well. So those two things, and then I can put this back in, and then we should be pretty much all set with the torques on this front end. Oh, except for the brakes. We need brakes too. We'll do brakes, and then be done. Go from there. As I just said, this is the part where I'm torquing everything down. Unfortunately, right here, I didn't film myself torquing down that upper bolt, but I did. Next, let's go ahead and install that headlight. A couple of bolts, a number of washers. Plug it in. All right, that's one side, great. Miles, buddy, my Ducati's almost all done. Yeah, awesome. And on goes the bracket for the chin thing. Now that we have the front end, the forks, the clamps, all looking and working spectacularly on this motorcycle, we have to address some things that have since then turned out to be not as good as we had been hoping for. Let me show you. So some of you eagle-eyed viewers might have noticed that the paint on these front fairing pieces is not doing so hot. And really it's my fault. The paint on them was very new, and I thought to preserve the paint job to put a clear bra on the motorcycle, but what I didn't know was when that clear bra goes on and it adheres to it, there's a possibility, and it happened, that it pulled the paint. So we need to address that by taking the fairings off, peeling off the clear bra, seeing the damage underneath, and possibly repainting them from scratch. Not something I'm looking forward to doing, but it's something that needs to get done. So while we're here, let's go ahead and peel off the clear bra and assess the damage underneath. Yep. That's gonna need a full paint job. RIP. This moment was so rough. Peeling this paint right off of the fairing after all of that hard work, after getting so far, just broke me. All right, now what we need to do is we need to go ahead and start the paint process for these fairings. I've gone ahead and I've sanded and added primer already because it's a super boring thing to watch, and it's just not something that's very fun to put into a YouTube series. So what I have right now is a extremely redneck, if I do say so myself, setup for the paint. And it's just here in my garage, nothing special. So essentially what I have set up here is just a way to elevate the fairings and hang them in a way where I can get paint all the way around, even coating on the front area as well as the back and all the edges, so get a real thick layer of paint and clear coat on them. So essentially it's just hung up here so I can get some good paint coverage on these. It's just those two pieces, so it should be a fairly easy paint job. We're gonna get to it and get it done. Gotta shake up the paint a little bit, stir it up, get all ready. Just a cool green. And before we go about painting these, we do need to wipe them down really quickly. And for that, I have this surface prep and cleaner. So we'll spray these fairings down real quick, give them a good wipe. That way there's not as much junk on these. They're not gonna be perfect, but we can get them as close as we can. All right, it definitely helps to have all the parts to your paint gun put back together. With missing a spring, we should be all set. Let's test it out and get it dialed in and paint these parts. I think that's good. Honestly, that one about as awfully as I thought it would be. So the last attempt to paint these fairings went horribly wrong, and we had to sand off what we had actually put on them, and it was really just my mistake. What ended up happening was the spray gun that I have, the nozzle that allows less or more paint to come out was fully open, and so it threw so much paint, it just all dripped down. And this paint, having metallic flakes in it, it just doesn't, at least to my understanding, doesn't work to fix. So sand it all down. We're prepping for round 2. I will be more careful, more vigilant, and we will get it done. But because of light and everything, it's even more redneck. we gotta do what we gotta do. So as you can see by my outfit, this is a new day and a third time where I've been trying to go ahead and paint these fairings. For whatever reason, the paint that I had been throwing on these has not settled well at all. There were ripples in it. And so what I ended up having to do was take them back down, sand them all really well, get them all cleaned up, put a primer on them. And now hopefully, this being the third time we're doing this, the paint will go on a little bit better. So we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna try this out, we're gonna make sure we take our time, we are looking at it and doing a good job. Here we go. Painting is not my forte. It's not something I would even say I'm good at, but I always want to try to do things myself if at all possible. Sometimes they work out great, sometimes they don't. Luckily, what are you doing, Luna? You can do things over again if you need to. That took way more work than I thought it was going to. I don't know what the deal was with those fairings. Whenever I would throw paint on them, it would crinkle up. So what I had to do was remove all instances of any paint that I've ever put on them before, and they've been painted before. So I essentially just scraped them down to the bare fairing of what they came OEM, resand, reprime, and then repaint them. And that took a number of times to figure out that that's what I needed to do. But we finally got them to a really good place. They are curing now. They are not perfect. There is still a little bit of junk in them, and that's just what happens when you're doing things in your garage or outside. But for what they are, I think the clear and the paint turned out really good. The clear coat's gonna probably need a little bit of sanding to get them perfect and to remove some of that orange peeliness. But I think the orange peel was pretty minimal, and so I'm happy with it. One thing that's really cool, if you remember, when the fairings were on the bike, the original idea for these colors, for the paint scheme, was to create the new luxury car partnership for the Diavel. They have the Bentley, they have the Lamborghini. I know they just came out with the Lamborghini V4, the sport bike model, but this bike was supposed to be an homage to the Aston Martin, the color, the yellow accent color for the racing team. And I had the logo on them. When I had to strip everything down, that logo came off. And it was kind of a bummer, but at the same time, I wasn't a huge fan of how it turned out, and it was permanent. And so what I opted for, instead of doing that again, was to step it up a little bit and reduce the amount of permanency. And I'll show you how that is. What I was able to order were these. And these are OEM Aston Martin hood and boot, technically, if we're getting really technical with the terminology, badges. And so these are metal, and they are original to the Aston Martin cars, and the back of them is just double-sided tape. I mean, it's more like automotive double-sided tape, but it's double-sided tape nonetheless. And so once those fairings have cured and the paint is no longer gonna peel up if you stick something to it, then these will go on in a semi-permanent fashion with double-sided tape. So with all that being said, with the fairings now in a good place where they are painted and now curing and eventually will go back on the motorcycle, this is where we're gonna end this video. The bike still needs to go back to Ducati and have them look it over head to toe. I still need to probably adjust the front suspension because it's a little squishy right now. Maybe I'll put together a small video on how that works and what that looks like. That's not a bad idea. We'll probably do that. And in the next video, yes, there is going to be a next video. We are going to put together a showcase of this bike, do a little bit of a ride on it, go a little bit of a distance on it, and we'll go from there. Thank you so much for everybody who has watched this video. If you haven't gone back to the other videos and watched the full rebuild of this motorcycle, please do that. It's a really cool series in my opinion. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. If you drop a like, if you leave a comment, I will respond to it. So watch out, you leave a comment, I'm coming for you. So test me on that, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much. Have a great one. We'll talk to you later. Bye.